And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today, we are talking about the most recent update around Terry McLaurin and his current contract situation. We're going to be also talking about the sense of urgency that must pick up to get a deal done with Terry McLaurin before training camp starts. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to hit that subscribe button, just like Jaden Daniels is going to be hitting Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Zach Ertz, Jalen Lane, and many others for multiple touchdowns this upcoming season. And so in exchange for hitting that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Washington Commanders. And so make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Washington Commanders Insider family as we talk nothing but Washington Commanders football. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it. We're talking about Terry McLaurin and his contract update. So if you want to read about this and also hear about this, go over to Commanders Wire. Within that article, you're going to be able to read what Adam Schefter said, and you're also going to be able to hear what Adam Schefter said as he was on an ESPN show that is hosted by Pat McAfee, and he's asked about Terry McLaurin and his current contract situation. And so we're going to go ahead and go into what he said. And once again, you can hear this as well if you head over to this article. And so bringing that up and starting from the top, you can see that he says that there's no update, which is the update, and that's the problem. The problem is with this particular situation, I think Terry McLaurin is going to argue that we've seen other wide receivers who his numbers are comparable to, like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, get paid over $30 million per year this offseason. And I think that the Commanders can then say, yes, but Mike Evans, who has had a comparable numbers, is at $24 million. So there really is quite a difference and a gap between what both sides would want. They have not made any progress. I would think that we'll see if there are any teams that decide to come snooping around Terry McLaurin to see if they can try to pry loose Terry McLaurin, who, by the way, I cannot envision the Commanders moving on from, no matter how disgruntled he may be. All right, so a powerful update here from Adam Schefter, just letting us know that, look, there has been no, kind of movement with Terry McLaurin, and just really putting it out there as far as just where they could be far apart as far as the numbers are concerned. And I will say this too, after he talks about, no matter how disgruntled that Terry McLaurin would be, and just talking about the fact that he doesn't see, any type of situation where they would part ways. He does say that, look, just no matter how far apart they are, he does think that at some point they could bridge the gap and just get to a solution. And he feels like that's really the same situation with TJ Watt, but right now, they're just far apart on deals, and talking about TJ Watt and also to Terry McLaurin. And he says that, look, that is going to be absolutely a story, heading into training camp, going into training camp, around training camp as it goes on or whatnot. And so, starting with that and training camp, look, training camp, I think, is slated to start, I believe, July the 23rd. And so it's July the 1st. And so that is going to be coming up very quickly. And, I think that this is important for the Washington Commanders to get a deal done with Terry McLaurin, because we've talked about all the additions on the offensive side of the football, whether it's the offensive line with Laramie Tunsil. We've talked about Deebo Samuel. We've talked about the impact that we would expect there. We've talked about the running back room really getting better, I think, and adding Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and how competitive they're going to be. Hopefully you get a healthy year with Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler. And then also, too, you get some key additions back. You got Zach Ertz back. And then also, too, Noah Brown. We're hoping that he's going to be healthy and ready to go. And then, oh, by the way, you add a guy like Jalen Lane, who's going to add to the mix. But the key piece to this offense is Terry McLaurin. It is complementary football. And look, even if Terry McLaurin is not getting the football, it opens it up for all the people that we've just talked about here. And so this is something where the Washington Commanders need to make sure that they get everybody taken care of heading into training camp. I think that the sooner that you get a deal done, the sooner that he gets back on the field. And I think that he has great rapport with everybody there, including Deebo Samuel. But I think that it's going to be important that he gets even more rapport, because the playbook certainly is going to change a bit. You know, the way that the Commanders want to attack is going to change as well with the new additions and things like that. And so you just don't want Terry McLaurin to miss that time, and you want him to be on the same page. And so it's no doubt about it, he's on the same page with Jaden Daniels, but this is a new challenge. It's a new year. And so you want to make sure that he's there. And when you look at Terry McLaurin and you look at the production, look, I just don't see why you don't get a deal done, because you're looking at a player that has found a way to get it done with 11 different quarterbacks. And the wide receivers that Adam Schefter mentions that essentially have set the market for the wide receivers now with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, they have played with Joe Burrow their entire career. And so the fact that you see Terry McLaurin have the production that he's had with 11 straight quarterbacks, and now the Washington Commanders get a legit franchise quarterback, and he's worried about a contract and we can't figure that out. Like, this is something that you have to figure out. And I think that if you're Adam Peters, you would be excited to figure this out, because now that you do have a franchise quarterback, you've seen the production that Terry McLaurin has had without a franchise quarterback. I'm excited to see what he's going to do now moving forward with Jaden Daniels, who everybody is saying that it looks like that he is ready to take a serious step forward. You put all the pieces in play right now for him to be protected. You've also put more pieces around him so he can get the ball out of his hands and let players make even more plays. Terry McLaurin has got to be a huge part of that. And so you got to find a way to get a deal done. And so look, at $30 million, I think that that's not necessarily, I think, breaking the bank for the Commanders. And honestly, I think that that's something like, if you were to do something for 4 seasons, I think that that's probably right where Jaden Daniels is as far as his contract is concerned. And so we'll see what happens, because I think that there is a way that you can get Terry McLaurin taken care of, and you can keep him out there with Jaden Daniels on his timeline as well. But, make no mistake about it. I mean, for what he has done, the accomplishments that he's had, I mean, look, the second Pro Bowl for him, first All-Pro honors here, and just looking at the numbers, this guy was spectacular. He had his best season as far as scoring touchdowns. And I just think that it was really phenomenal, because last season was the season where I think everybody knew that 17 was coming, and you still couldn't stop him. And so I can only imagine what happens now when you have additions to the offense like the Washington Commanders have, and then the defense has also gotten better. I just envision that the defense is going to be able to get more turnovers. They're going to be able to flip the field. They're going to be able to get the offense even more possessions in games. You get a guy like Terry McLaurin with these guys, I think that this is something that can really, push this team forward. But anyway, you guys let me know in the comments here, what are you thinking here about this most recent news and update around Terry McLaurin and his contract status? Are you, in the camp of getting something done here going into training camp? Or do you feel like, it's not something to worry about? You feel like as long as it gets done before the season, it's going to be fine? And then here's my thing about that too. So the longer that you wait, again, I just think it's the longer away that he's away from the team and just working with the way that they want to approach the offensive game plan this year. And I just think that for as much as the Commanders are going to face as a team, you need to be focused. And that means eliminating distractions. And not that Terry McLaurin is, but I think that this situation around the team, it will be a distraction and something that you want to make sure that you get rid of. And then also, too, I think another thing that, Adam Schefter brings up about being disgruntled, like, imagine if he goes into this season and he does play on that 1-year contract. I mean, what would that say, as far as going forward with Terry McLaurin? And then also, too, what are other players going to think about that could be into that same situation? And so this is going to be interesting how this deal gets done. I think it has to get done, and it should get done before training camp. But I'll leave it out to you guys. What are you thinking here with Terry McLaurin? Do they get something done? Do they make him available for a trade? I'm not in that camp at all. But again, that is something that would be very interesting if teams start to pick up the phone and say, hey, we're interested. What would happen then? So anyway, you guys let me know in the comments. And as we always say, go Commanders. And I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.